Hi everyone, welcome back. Today I'm with Kayvion Lewis, the author of Thieves Gambit, and we're going to be talking about her amazing, amazing book. To start off, could you tell us what Thieves Gambit is about?
So, Thieves Gambit is a young adult thriller about nine teenage thieves from nine different countries who are all invited to compete in an international underground thieving competition that takes them around the world doing crazy over the top heists. Some people are betraying people, some people are falling in love, even though they shouldn't be in the middle of a death game. It's basically my personal, like, around the world adventure fantasy with a lot more, like, backstabbing and heist involved.
That's a really good summary of it.
Thank
It,
you. I've been forced to say that summary so many times over the last 6 months. It's permanently stuck in my brain.
I like to joke that, everyone's like, have your elevator pitch ready. Mine's my broken down elevator pitch because it takes an hour. I love to just detail every single little plot point. So I have to like actually memorize whatever summary.
I
It's
had the exact same problem at first. I think I had to actually like write down, okay, let me write down 50 words or less and memorize it. And now I can regurgitate it at any time.
That's an amazing talent. I'm gonna have to do that. So starting off, one of you had one of the best jobs in the world. You were a former librarian. Did that like experience inspire you to start writing?
That actually, eventually it did. I didn't realize for a while after like graduating high school and becoming an adult that I wanted to be a writer. I feel like so many writers like origin story is, oh, I always knew that I wanted to be involved with stories. That was not me at all. I had my first job as a children's librarian when I was 16, and I realized, oh wow, books are so cool and kids can be so inspired by books. I'm so in awe of these people who create the books. Still never thought that maybe I should be the one writing the books since I was in awe of this. And then it was actually when I moved to having a job in a special collections department in a library, which is as far from children's literature within the library system that you can get, that I just kind of decided one day, oh, maybe I want to write books. Wouldn't this be kind of cool? And so I started writing. And when I decided to move on in my library career, I had started writing, and I wanted to write young adult because that's mostly what I read, even though I was like an adult by then. And I thought, well, if I'm going to get another library job, let me get like a young adult library job so I can get paid for doing regular library work, but I'll also be forced to stay like up to date with like the newest YA trends. And like, so being surrounded by so many books within the genre or the age category that I was writing in definitely helped my mind stay in like young adult mode like all day, every day. And I think that definitely helped influence my writing a lot.
So my friend owns a bookstore and
Okay.
I've gone and like worked like a little bit here and there, like a day or two, and it is so much fun.
Right?
Like I
Yes.
love it. Like they could literally be like, "Can you go put this book on the shelf?" I'm like, "Yes, yes, I got you."
I
It's
always felt like I was in the middle of like a Lifetime, like a Hallmark movie, working surrounded by books. Like I probably didn't actually look as romanticized as I did in my head, but in my head, I would be like, "Oh, I'm in a pretty dress and I'm shelving books, and maybe somebody is watching me from afar, and I'll be like the intellectual girl who reads and this grander story of me." But that's me and my main character energy. So, but I'm glad that you can relate.
I get it. I get like the main character energy so much because like the bookstore has one of those like floor to ceiling ladders
Oh
that
my God.
rolls around the room.
I'm so jealous. Whoa, why are you not there right now? Why don't you live there? I would be
I
there all the time.
literally because you know how we had the actors strike. So during or SAG and WGA, and so during the strike, I was working at the bookstore a lot. But now that we're back to work, I don't have any time to work there, and I'm like, I want to go back to the bookstore so bad.
Aw. Maybe they'll let you in after hours or something, which would be even cooler.
That'd be so cool. It would, yeah. I mean, I'm friends with the owner, so I could theoretically just go, right, right,
Yeah, yeah. If
yeah.
you have to like pick a lock or something, you have no like malice, so I'm sure they
I'll
wouldn't
have
charge you.
my Thieves Gambit moment and like break into the bookstore.
Please do. Please don't tell the police that you got that idea from Thieves Gambit or the author. I do not take responsibility, but feel free to maybe take a picture with Thieves Gambit inside the bookstore while you're there.
I will. Speaking of characters breaking into places, Ross is amazing at that, born and raised being a thief. And she is such a great main character. And your side characters are also amazing. And everyone that watches this knows I am such a side character person. I love, but this is rare where I'll love the main character. And that happened in this one where I really loved Ross so much. But out of all of the cast you have in Thieves Gambit, what was your favorite character to write?
It was probably okay. My favorite character to write was probably Ross's mom. And especially now that I've been like writing her even more because of the sequel and everything. I don't want to like spoil anything, but you know, her mom is a bit of a person, I guess, to say the least. An interesting human being, and getting to like write her interactions with mom, knowing like the type of person that she really is on the inside,
Yeah.
was like a bit challenging, but kind of like fun too. So she was definitely the most fun or interesting to write, but a close second and like my overall favorite character is Tayo. I love like grumpy characters who are like grumpy on the outside, but they would actually could be your best friend maybe in real life. And I also have been getting to write him more now that I'm working on the sequel. And he gets to play kind of a larger role, and that like his dynamics with the other characters is a little different in the sequel. And I've grown to love him even more now.
No, I get the like grumpy-esque side character that really could be a ray of sunshine.
Right? I love that trope.
I love those.
I'm kind of using that trope a little bit with him and another character in the sequel, and that's been really fun banter too.
It's one of the best tropes in my opinion. I love it.
I hope that trope is in your rom-com. Okay, I won't ask you to say more. I won't ask you to say more. Not yet.
Who knows?
I'll stay tuned.
It's the black cat golden retriever. That's what.
Okay. Ooh,
Yeah,
okay.
we have that, and I love it. I love
Just
it.
as nice, just as lovable.
Exactly. So you said the sequel. Do we have any updates or little sneak peeks or anything?
Ooh, I am literally doing my last round of edits this week on the sequel. They're due Monday, yeah. So if I look a little tired, it's because I was up working on them, and then I took a nap, and then I was like, oh my God, I have an interview. Let me like wake up. I don't want to spoil anything, but there's lots more heists, of course, lots more, you know, thief on thief beef. We've got some new romantic relationships between characters we've seen before popping up, which that was fun to develop. And you know, a lot more sinister family members who we probably should have dealt with earlier, which is another favorite trope.
Sinister family members. It's
yeah. That's maybe a little too close to reality for some of us, but that's what makes it fun to like read about too.
You get the relatability, but then also the thieving heists.
Exactly, yeah. And I hope the thieving and the heist part like isn't as relatable for most people. But you know, no judgment.
You're like someone reading it. Oh my God, that's like my average Monday.
Yeah, they're reading Thieves Gambit on their phone as they're in a cubby in a mansion in South Africa.
Oh my God,
I need that person to please email me, and I will send you a free signed book, whoever that is.
going back to the first book. There's a movie in progress, not production, but progress. And whenever, I mean, this is such a good thing that whenever amazing aspect of reading that I found in some books is that if you're reading it and it's like so detailed and you can picture the movie playing in your mind. And I had that with Thieves Gambit, and that was so amazing because it doesn't happen all the time, but when it does, it's the best thing. And so I love whenever, you know, the author is so detailed in the writing that you can literally visualize it. And you did that so well. So well.
Thank you so much.
But what's funny is I didn't even know when I was reading it, I didn't know it was going to be a movie. And then I was thinking, I was like, this should be a movie. This would be a really good movie. Like I could see it as that. And then I was like kind of reading up on it after being like, oh, like what all has she done? And I was like, oh my God, wait, it's gonna be a movie. So it made my day there.
I get that a lot, or as an author, they tell you not to read your own reviews, and we all like break the rule and like read our reviews like anyway. And
So
I don't know, it always,
everyone's like, stay away from Goodreads. Don't go to Goodreads.
girl, they say stay away from Goodreads, and now I like have Goodreads bookmarked, and I'm like, I need to stop. Every day, every time I log off, I'm like, this is the last time, I'm not going back, but I always need my fix. Um,
Yeah.
anyways, but as I'm snooping on Goodreads, I love reading that where people, even I guess who maybe still don't know that it's going to be a movie, will just end the review and be like, this would make a great movie. And I'm like, oh, little do they know, they'll be seeing real soon. Why did that sound so sinister, like a supervillain when I said that? But I actually was not thinking very cinematically while I was writing the book. I guess I just naturally have that sort of writing style. The first person who called the book cinematic at all was my literary agent when she offered me representation. That was like the first thing that she said in her email asking for a call. She was like, I read the book and it was like so cinematic. I could see the movie in my head. And I was like, oh, really? Whatever you say, lady. But then after we went out, and to try and sell the book and we started getting interest, we had a really rare but amazing situation in which we were also getting film interest like at the same time.
Oh, wow.
And yeah, that was crazy. That was the craziest like 3 weeks of my life. And then just I guess the amount of film interest that we had really made me think, okay, maybe I do write cinematically and did not notice before. So now I guess I try to lean into that even more as I'm writing. I've always been the type to kind of just see the movie in my head as I'm writing, and I'm kind of just recording like what's playing in my head. And so now that's my thing, and I try to, I don't know, stay cinematic, I guess.
Yeah, no, I have no
Thank you.
words because I feel like I'm repeating myself, but I literally could see the movie as I was reading it. And it was a wild experience. Like I could literally see Ross like jumping off a balcony or something. It was
Oh, thank you.
like he just goes flying off. You know, like the very like James Bond Mission Impossible bit where you jump from roof to roof.
Yes,
I
I
was
was
like, I
very
could see that
inspired.
in my mind.
I was very inspired by like the whole 007 and Mission Impossible franchises as I
Yeah.
was writing. Like I love like the over the top like action movies. I've always loved those. And that was like this essence or the spirit that I wanted to capture in the book that I was writing while I was writing. So maybe that is kind of why it ended up maybe reading a little bit like a screenplay too in some places.
I loved it. Yeah, no, I was reading it and I was like, because 007, James Bond, like all of that stuff is one of like my favorite like movies. I love all of that world. And so reading this, I was like, we get like a female James Bond. This is so cool.
Right, a black female James Bond. It's amazing.
It's amazing. I loved it. And speaking of diversity in the book, because Ross is competing with thieves from all over the world, every type of person, was there any research you had to do so you could learn more about who each character was?
I did. My first thought when I was creating all of the characters is I wanted them to have like authentic and genuine names from depending on where they were from. So I'm very much like a when it comes to some things like a from the seat of my pants writer. So I didn't have any like character charts or anything made up before I started writing. It will get to the point where I realize I have to introduce a character and then I just have to like kind of create them on the spot.
Yeah.
So I knew that I wanted Ross's competitors to be like a coterie of thieves from like all over the world. Not because I wanted to be like intentionally like, oh, let me be so diverse, people are gonna claim me and I'm gonna be like the new heroine of diversity. But I just thought it would be, first of all, it would be natural for a
Mhm.
competition of the best teenage thieves to be comprised of kids from everywhere.
Yeah.
And also I think we need more diverse stories that aren't centered solely on like the struggles that come with that diversity, if that makes sense. Like we
Yeah.
need stories for like characters of color that are just them, doing awesome action adventure stuff.
Yeah.
um so I wanted it to be like cool and fun and upbeat but with like a diverse cast. So when I would need to introduce a character, I would decide, okay, well, where are they going to be from, where haven't I pulled a character from yet? And the first thing that I would do would be like, let me Google like a list of popular baby names from like the early 2000s when this character would be born, like in the country or place that they're from. And I would just like select a name for them. And then I tried to pay close attention, at least in subtle ways, to like being true to how I think like a person from this country or place would like act, or maybe they would be more respectful because their culture would have that in them, or maybe they would be a little bit more like this or casual, but then also paying particular attention to not falling into stereotypes. And I was lucky enough to have like a sensitivity reader for a few of the characters just to make sure that, okay, well, this character is from Korea and she also likes K-pop, but I don't want that to be like her sole personality trait. Let me make sure that I'm not just making her like, oh, this is the standard like Korean thing.
I get that a lot. I have a character in my book who has EDS or Ehlers-Danlos syndrome. It's a disability. And I don't know
Mm.
much about that, but I have two friends who do. And so I have a sensitivity reader as well, where I'll send it to like one of my friends and be like, hey, is this accurate? Like, is this because I want to represent it as well as I can and make it accurate. So I get 100% where you're coming from.
Yeah, and it never hurts to be too careful with that, especially if you have like the resources to do so. I think, but it is, I guess, a fine balance sometimes between wanting to be like accurate, representing a character that is from a different culture than you, but then also making sure that you're not falling into stereotypes and making those cultural aspects their entire personality, if that makes sense. And that was something that I tried to pay particular attention to. Um, and I think I did at least an okay job. But that's not for me to decide when it comes to characters that are outside my own experience. So
I mean, like you said, obviously some of us can't speak for other characters and cultures, races, but I think you did an amazing job.
thank you so much. At least at this point, I was like, once I get past the 1 month mark, if I've really like butchered a character, I know somebody will tell me on Goodreads, which is one of the reasons I'm on Goodreads.
Yeah. But the crazy thing about Goodreads is that people will be on there like because I know like a few authors and they were like the first thing you do whenever you announce your book, do not go to Goodreads, stay away from that. Because like you'll announce your book, it won't even be out, like it won't even be published, and they'll be putting reviews, like awful, terrible reviews of your book without even knowing about it. And I was like, they do that?
They will. They
Wild.
will.
It's crazy. I
It
was
is
not
crazy.
expecting that.
But you have to look at it, I guess, in like a fun way. Like, I don't know, like it's a joke, or at least that's
Oh,
how I deal with the trolls like that.
no, because I mean, I've been acting since I was like 6. So I've had fair share of people online, crazy people. And so, but it's funny because some people are like, you shouldn't read that. I get a kick out of it. I love reading. I find it so funny. Like everyone's like, stay away from that. Like you don't want to read it. There was a time where someone wrote something and I spent 30 minutes just laughing about it because it was the funniest thing to me. And it was
Right. I mean, sometimes the haters are really funny. I will say that.
like, I don't believe a word that you're saying, but it's funny.
Right. Oh, I'm glad that you're also the type who can kind of like, let that breath like just fall off you.
Yeah.
It took me a little while to get to that point. But now that I'm there, my brother also helps a lot. Sometimes he'll just read like a really bad review, but in like a supervillain voice or like a Muppet voice. He'll be like, Kayvion Lewis is a low-class hack. 1 star.
That's really funny. You get like the old, like, like the early 2000s, like movie trailer voice.
That's exactly what he'll do. Yeah.
You do like that. Yeah.
And then you take it a lot less seriously.
You just got to put a funny spin on it, really.
That's a good advice for like all of life, pretty much dealing with anything unpleasant.
Make it funny.
Just make it funny. Just laugh at it.
Yep. There's a reason I'm writing a rom-com.
I can see that. And now I'm extra excited to read it.
Mm-hmm. Sorry, we got so off track.
Sorry, that's half me too.
I'm always different paths of a conversation. It's always all over.
As long as you end up somewhere cool, whatever.
This is good life advice that we're giving today.
You're right. We should just do this instead.
Exactly. So, ladies and gentlemen,
let me tell you my 10 tips for life.
but so back on the movie adaptations, how has that process been? Have you found it challenging or difficult at all? Because it's a totally different world than the publishing world.
It is totally different. And I'm still, even though I guess I've been in it for like over a year now, I still feel like there's so much about it that I don't know. And I learn new things the further that the process goes along. we were lucky enough that we had like a director sign on immediately, the amazing Stephen Cable Jr. And I was also lucky enough to be able to go out to LA and like meet my film team and everything last year. And I got to meet my screenwriter, Henry Gayden, for the first time. And I got to sit down and like talk with him and my producers about like their plans for like the screenplay and like some changes that they were thinking about making or some things that they definitely wanted to keep, and kind of just have like an open discussion. I tried to go into the whole process knowing that, you know, a screenplay or a movie is very different from a book. You know, one has a lot less time to explore things, and, you know, one is a visual medium and one is not. So I didn't want to be one of those authors who's like super attached to like everything must have perfect continuity and be exactly like my book. I, my, the only requirement I have is I'm like, I just want it to be like a good movie that like feels like Thieves Gambit, even if it's a bit different.
Yeah.
So it's been interesting working with my screenwriter, who will sometimes, or while he was writing, I think he just finished the first draft of the screenplay a couple weeks ago, from what I heard. But it was interesting during the process, before they went on strike and everything, hearing him like ask me questions that I hadn't even known the answer to myself. Like he would ask me like, what are Ross's great grandparents' names and how did they start thieving? And I would be like, let me like look at my files and get back to you tomorrow. And I'd be like, oh my God, what are their names? How do they start thieving? I have to come up with a backstory for this.
Yeah. No, it's always, they always like really get into the nitty gritty of it, even if it doesn't, even if in the book it's not addressed, or at least, and it might be in the sequel, but in the first one it's not addressed. But then you have some being like, so going back decades, and you're like,
Right?
what? We're thinking that far?
Yeah, I was not expecting them to go so in depth into like aspects of like the world and world building that even I hadn't gone into. But it's been fun, first of all, but also it's been, I guess, helpful when I was going into the sequel and I like knew even more about my world than I did like before all this process started.
Yeah.
So it's been really helpful for me just as a creator of like this world in general.
So like you're pretty involved in the whole process, right? Because I know it sometimes differs author, like depending on the author.
Yeah, I am technically an executive producer, which I didn't think I'd ever be able to put on my resume, right? Yeah. Um, I at first I was kind of like hesitant because I was like, well, I don't really know anything about movies, and I kind of like expressed that to my film team and was like, well, is it okay for me to like take a step back if I ever feel like I don't want to be as involved, or maybe take a step forward if I feel like I'm not being involved enough? And like my whole team at like Temple Hill and Lionsgate, they've all been from the beginning very open to like me being as involved as I want to be. So I appreciate having like the flexibility to like be really involved, but then also be like, okay, well, I'm on deadline. I don't want to like be an executive producer right now. Let me put my author hat back on.
I like that it's that there's a possibility for you to either be more involved or just kind of take a step back. I like that.
I like it too, and I appreciate them always keeping me updated.
You sound like you
Even
have
if I'm like, oh, they're so amazing. Oh my God, especially that was one of the things that stood out while I was talking to like different production teams and like studios and stuff. They were like the one team who, when I was on like a Zoom call with them, it just felt like we were just on like a party chat and we were just having a good time talking with everybody. And I was like, well, these aren't just cool like filmmakers. They're people that like I feel like I could be friends with. And I think that goes really far too. And like me feeling comfortable with like expressing my feelings with the whole team.
Obviously, whenever you're publishing a book, you do like a bunch of different meetings. And so the meeting that I had with my editor that I have now, it felt like that. It was very like it felt very like friend to friend, almost like you were just having a conversation. I loved that.
Yeah, and that kind of thing, it's not something that you would think would be the most important thing in like a business relationship, but it actually really is important to like be
Yeah.
comfortable and like friendly, if possible, with the people that you're working with.
Is there a person that inspired you to start writing, or even a book that inspired you to become an author?
It wasn't like a conscious inspiration, and it's something that I realized like further on, now that I know kind of like my writing style and what I like to write and the things, the books and stuff that stuck with me from my childhood. But I absolutely loved the 39 Clues series. if you're familiar with
I
it.
don't know if I do. The name sounds slightly familiar, but I don't know if I know of it.
The first book was by Rick Riordan, and it had like kind of a circular series of authors, like multiple different authors worked on it. But it was like a middle grade series about these kids going around the world solving these 39 clues, going against their like evil family members. And it was like, you know how cinematic and like around the world adventure Thieves Gambit is, but with teenagers. Like that was like almost, it was such in a similar vein, but it was like middle grade, and it was like just as like globetrotting and like so expansive. I loved those books so much. They really captured my sense of adventure. And I look back now and I'm like, wow, I definitely remember that feeling, the way that those books made me feel, and was trying to like recreate this with Thieves Gambit. And
That's
I'm
so
disappointed that people don't know it as much as like, does nobody else remember this book series?
I mean I obviously know the author. You said Rick Riordan. I obviously
Of
know
course.
who that is. But I don't know if I know of it. I'll
It's
have to look it up. I'll have to look for it though, because that sounds really cool.
Yeah, I'm so disappointed. I feel like I bring that up and like 30% of people will know what series I'm talking about. And when I was on tour in the UK, nobody knew what I was talking about. Like not even my British publicist or my British like publishing team. I was like, it was not even a big deal over here.
Oh my God. I'll look for it now. You're gonna have to spread the word about this book then, this book
I
series.
will make it my mission to bring back the 39 clues. It should be on the New York Times bestseller list again. I actually don't know if it was
I will
at
read
all.
it and I shall help you spread the word because it
Oh,
sounds really cool.
thanks for joining the cult of the 39 clues with me
Of
then.
course. You mentioned this a little bit um earlier about the cliffhanger and the amazing. It was so good. It was so good. I think I had to sit there for a second when I finished it, just like, did I read that?
It was a lot in the
It was
end.
a
It was a
really good
lot.
cliffhanger. I loved it. Do
Thank
you
you.
do you know when we could? You said that you're finishing the edits right now. Do you know when we could maybe time frame get a sequel?
So we're currently on slate for release this fall, in fall of 2024. Yeah, but I'm sure as you know by now, publishing times and dates can get shifted like so quickly.
Yeah.
Um, but I haven't heard like any rumors of the date getting moved or anything as of yet. So hopefully before the end of the year, we should have book two out, and
Oh, that's amazing.
we'll end on hopefully maybe a, I was gonna say a little bit of a calmer note than book one, but some crazy stuff does happen at the end of book two also. So sorry about that.
No, we love the crazy endings. We love it. What do you hope that readers take away from your book?
Oh, I guess I could be cheeky and say just don't trust anybody, even
Oh,
like no matter, but
that's
but that's
a
so
good one.
pessimistic. That's good life advice. So remember that. But more than anything, I guess even though it sounds it's so like cliche and saccharine, but I think no matter how old you are, who you are, what you do, whether you're an international thief or not, it really never is too late to find your crew, to find like your friends, your people, your tribe. And just like Ross, I think that's true for everybody.
I love that. And I'll say I got that from the book that yeah,
Excellent.
you succeeded. And
Thank you.
it's true. Like throughout the book, Ross starts the book with only trust her family. That's literally her family motto. And then by the end of it, she's kind of gathered this band of like ragtag thieves, and they're
Yeah,
all really close, and it's really sweet.
I know. Like she's had some stuff go down. She's had like a couple of betrayals, as does happen in
That
teenage
does
death
happen.
games. But there's the real ones. You can still find your people in the middle of any sort of chaos.
And last question, the most important question of them all before we let you go. What book are you currently reading?
Oh, actually, just last night I started book two of the series called Thousand Autumns. I'm not sure if you're familiar with the whole like danmei genre from like China.
Yes,
Um
I know it.
okay, okay.
Yes.
Yeah, like they inspire a lot of like TV shows. Like if you're familiar with the show The Untamed. Like
Oh,
that's based on a book series called Grandmaster of Demonic Cultivation, which is like they always have like really long titles, except for this one, Thousand Autumns is pretty short. So I finished book one of this like 5 book series. That's another Dan May genre book last night, and then also ran to Barnes and Nobles at like 8:30 p.m. to get book two. And I just started. I'm like 30 pages into book two of that
oh,
series. So me, I don't know. I do kung fu, so I'm into like the whole Chinese martial arts thing. So
that's
it's cool to read books about like Chinese martial artists, except they have like skills that I'll never actually have, like, you know, being able to stop somebody's sword with like the point of their finger. But in my head, I'm like, oh, I will be able to do that one day. I just have to train hard enough. But
yeah.
until then, I'm going to read these books.
No, that's like my like Captain America complex is that
Captain
if a
America.
if a car was coming at me, I could just go and just stop it. That's never gonna happen. I'm
Well,
never
I
gonna be
mean,
able to do that, but it's there.
but that's what the main character always thinks in, you know, the movie until they get like, I don't know, some kind of robotic arm transplant or fall into a vat of toxic waste. So, you know, you never really know, Reagan.
Exactly. That's
Please don't try to stop any cars after this though. I
I'll be
can't go to
like,
prison for like influencing you.
I'm gonna go break into a bookstore and I'm gonna try to stop a moving car. This is gonna be a great day.
Just delete this interview before you try to do any of those two things.
It was great to talk to you though. I had a lot of fun.
Me too. Thank you for like having me on. I'm excited to
Sure.
see the next book you pick, but thank you for liking Thieves Gambit and reading it and selecting it.
It was amazing. And everyone, make sure to read Thieves Gambit by Kayvion Lewis. It
And
was
book two.
yes, book two. Yeah. And I hope you all enjoy it. And thank you for watching.
Bye.